Late night postgame. What's going on? 7:59 here on Sunday, November 23rd. Week 12 goes in as a victory for the Ravens, who improved to 6-5. They are above 500 for the first time this season. They have clawed their way back from 1-5, and they sit atop the AFC North due to Pittsburgh losing today in Chicago with no Aaron Rodgers. It was Mason Rudolph and company, and the Steelers dropped one to the Bears, as did the Bengals. Cleveland and Baltimore, the only two divisional winners today, as the Browns just took care of the Raiders in Vegas. Shador wins his first career NFL start. Good for him. Good for Myles Garrett and company. And yeah, Cleveland improves to 3-8. Obviously not a legitimate contender within this division, but good enough on a day with the struggling Raiders hosting them at Allegiant Stadium in Vegas. As for the Ravens, it's 23-10. It was ugly, but good enough to get through this favorable stretch that dates back all the way back, over a month ago now. And the Ravens have taken care of business. 5 straight wins, and now they await their closing 6-week stretch where they'll face 4 divisional opponents, 2 against the Steelers, 2 against the Bengals, and of course, 1 against the Patriots, and a late December trip to the frozen tundra that Lambeau promises to be against the Green Bay Packers. So that's where things stand right now. Brandon Stevens had some interesting conversations post-game with reporters on Lamar and his overall health. But first, we'll hear from the man himself, Lamar, at the podium post-game.
Has there been a game yet since you've come back from injury where you kind of feel like, okay, I'm fully myself, I'm fully healthy, I'm fully ready to compete the way we've seen you compete over the last few years?
I can't call it, but I'm out there, so I feel like I should still be able to do what I do.
How much did the ankle bother you at all today? I mean, I know it was obviously taped up a good bit, but did it hinder you at all?
No, it was pretty solid, for the most part. It was pretty solid.
So, Lamar, do you feel injuries are holding you back or holding this offense back in a way because you're not able to?
No, I don't think that at all. I feel like we just need to execute, a lot better. We get in great field position, but we're not putting points on the board, that have nothing to do with no injury. We just need to put points on the board right there.
As he always does, Lamar making sure to, downplay the significance of where he's at health-wise right now, and never really making it overly about himself at the podium, which you respect and you admire the way that he's gotten through this. John Harbaugh post-game, I think, put it best without actually putting it in the words that I think what we can all agree on is that Lamar is gutting through physically right now. And if you look at the end of Sarah's transcription, it's exactly what I think is reality. You can bet on that, meaning there will be pretty games for Lamar upcoming. But I'm proud of him right now. I'm really proud of the way he's fighting to win football games. I think that right there hits the nail on the head. Lamar is literally physically fighting through football games, gutting through football games. And I get it. There's no one that's 100% healthy this time of the year. But as you watch Lamar over this stretch, since returning from the hamstring, since popping up on the injury report after a brutal game when it comes to pass protection or lack thereof in Minnesota with a knee, and then popping up after Sunday in Cleveland with an ankle and missing Wednesday practices as a result, it just begs the question, how many limitations are there right now within the confines of Todd Monken's offense as it relates to Lamar's health? We all saw some of the lanes, the gaps that Lamar at times this afternoon was unwilling to take. And I'm not criticizing him. I think it's a state of where he's at right now physically. And the hope is that he's able to gut and fight through this stretch enough to get a win on Thanksgiving night against a Bengals team that'll probably have Joe Burrow out there for the first time since his toe procedure. And if you do, you give yourself another mini bye, just as you had a few weeks ago after the Dolphins game, to take 10 days and try and get the lower half of your body right. Because Lamar does not look right now. Brandon Stevens was the opposition today. a cornerback for the Jets who was brought in by New York in free agency. Ravens let him walk. Brandon was a former 4th-round pick of Eric DeCosta's several years ago. And Brandon was asked about facing Lamar from his perspective today.
Lamar's done throughout his career. You've probably seen firsthand what he's done throughout his career. You guys made him look pedestrian. What were you doing to kind of complicate things for their offense, specifically for him?
Yeah, I think we just had a great game plan as far as just limiting him in the run game and in explosives. And so I think up front they did a good job with that. But yeah.
He's been battling some stuff this year, like random injury, the hamstring injury, and I think it was foot or ankle he was on the injury report with this week. Did you notice that? Like, could you tell that maybe he wasn't the Lamar that people are used to seeing?
To be honest, no. I didn't see him, acting like, as if he was hurt. You know what I mean? I think we just had a great game plan as far as keeping him in the pocket and, limiting his running ability.
Look, I like Brandon a lot, but I'm sorry, I'm not buying that for a half second. Did you hear him at the end there again on if Lamar looked like himself? Quote, to be honest, no. Or excuse me, the question was, did he notice that Lamar wasn't himself physically? And Brandon said, to be honest, no, I didn't see him acting as if he was hurt. I think we just had a great game plan as far as keeping him in the pocket and limiting his run ability. Look, with all due respect to the New York Jets, let's be very clear. This was less about what they did defensively against Lamar and more about Lamar's physicality or lack thereof when it comes to the mobility and limitations, the unwillingness to tuck it and run at times, taking what the defense would give him, lack of polish when it comes to some of the inaccuracy. He was off base with Tyler Linderbaum. Unclear whether or not that's a Tyler thing operationally or more so on Lamar or both. I thought he and Isaiah Likely were off kilter at times. And this was less about the offensive line, to be quite honest with you today. I didn't see as many congested pockets, as many difficult throwing windows for Lamar. I'm not saying that hasn't been a season-long trend and an issue because it has. We all know that. But to me, this was more about Lamar today than it was up front for him, offensively speaking. And so, Brandon, I can't follow that at all, to be quite honest with you. And again, he's got to get up there and tout his own defense and his defensive coordinator, right? Clearly. David Kewer says, dude, you're fucking reaching. LJ is playing well. David, open up your fucking eyes. I love you. Derrick Henry, post-game.
You guys on the offensive side of the ball getting the win, but knowing that you didn't play up to you guys' capability.
I think you just answered the question. We didn't play to the way we feel like we should, and we got to be better.
What do you think that 4th down touchdown was a big kind of turning point in the game? Were you guys lobbying at all to go for it on 4th down in this situation? How big was it at that point?
We just want to give ourselves a chance to be able to go score, and glad that we executed to be able to get it in there. And we just got to be better on offense overall.
Some guys have said, you guys just not executing on offense on some of these opportunities. What do you need to do, I guess, in order to execute the way you guys want?
What do we need to do as offense?
Just to execute the way you guys want.
Play better, execute. And I don't know what else to say. We just need to play better, and everybody just do their job. All 11 takes all 11 to be able to execute, put plays together, put drives together, and end with points.
How much of a challenge is it with Lamar not seemingly able to run the ball the way we've seen him run in the past? The read option's not been a big part of it. His design runs aren't a part of it. The defense looks like they have to worry about that. How does that affect their approach and the defensive approach?
My approach is the same. Is when I get the ball, try to make plays and do my job. I can't speak for El. You have to ask him that. And just what we won today. So that's a plus. But just focus on being better.
Derrick's either at his wit's end with media responsibilities at this point in the season, or at this point in his long tenured career, or at his wit's end with the offensive line, or at his wit's ends with just the overall state of his offense, or all the above. Maybe it's all the above, but Derrick has seemed as if he's very irked easily and prickly in some of these media scrums, but always makes himself available. The consummate professional. 2 rushing touchdowns today, including 1 on 4th down in the red zone, where that was just highly executed by everybody. Todd Monken to dial it up. Lamar, of course, spearheading it. Derek, as the codename closer, the offensive line, I thought, did its job. Pat Ricard opened up the gap as he so often does. And what does Derek do? He waltzes into the end zone. That was beautiful. I thought Fa'alele and Rosengarten did their job, got good jumps and some push off the snap. Ricard just eliminates defenders, oncoming defenders, no matter what their position is, no matter what their size is. Pause. Pat is slowly getting himself back, which has been awesome to see, and his snap count continues to go up since that calf injury, which forced him to miss the majority of the first half of the season. So thrilled to see 42 back out there doing what he does. Artie writes, Lamar's killing me in fantasy, Bobby. I might have to start streaming quarterbacks. He looks so bad and has no pocket presence at all. He's not healthy, Artie. You got to get him off your fantasy team, brother. Appreciate the super chat. Appreciate you for being here. Luke earlier on made a comment that I felt was worthy of my time, 60 seconds maybe. Luke says there isn't a good team left on the Ravens schedule. Luke, do you think the Ravens are a good team? Seriously. Do you think the Ravens are a good team? Because right now I see a wide open AFC, and I don't see that much difference between the Ravens and a slew of other teams within a very heavily packed, tight AFC. Are they a good team? I think they're an average team at best. And we now have 11 game sample size, 7.5 of which have been with Lamar. So I can't sit here and be receptive to your comment that there's no good teams left on the Ravens schedule, because one, that's false. New England would be the 2 seed right now if the postseason began. And divisional games are divisional games. So I'm not following you there at all. I love you, but I'm not following you. And don't lead me into the I can't follow your lead on that one. Evan says Green Bay's ass. Trolling as usual. Appreciate you guys for being with me tonight on this Sunday evening. If you could like the video on your way in or out, subscribe, hit that notification bell, consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership, and you want to look at things through your rose-colored glasses, maybe this ain't the moment tonight. Maybe this ain't the channel for you tonight. There's a lot of other options, though. Ravens are not a good team. I'm not willing to say that. I think they're an average team, and they find themselves in the mix to come out of a very parity-driven, wide-open year. Is that fair? I can't evaluate them after the first 5 weeks and now 5 weeks of beating up on this favorable stretch of games. I can't sit here and confidently tell you that they're a good team. I'd be doing you a disservice. I'd be lying too. Hit me with your argument. What makes you, Luke, or anybody out there for that matter? I want to hear it. Why are the Ravens, why should they be deemed as a good team? They're a team that has been good enough to dig themselves out successfully from a really tough opening month plus of the season. They're a good enough team and have the mental fortitude to have dug themselves out. The front office made moves prior to the deadline that immediately paid dividends with the addition of Draymond Jones and Alohi Gilman. Yes, we want Alohi to clean up a few things with pursuit angles and the finishing ability from a tackling standpoint, but he's brought a sense of calm to the back end of the defense, which was absolutely desperate. They were desperate for it. It's opened up Kyle Hamilton. So they've been good enough to date to make something of this season and rediscover newfound life, if you will. But I don't know if I can confidently tell you that they're a good team. Shelly says, Bobby, I'm going to need you to say this in front of Sarah and Femi. Maybe that'll come up this week. Artie says Todd Monken. I don't think that's that. Do you think that that's that out there, out of left field for me to say that, Shelly? Artie says Todd Monken has been so bad this year, he needs to work on getting Lamar in a rhythm. 23 passing attempts is not enough. Lamar was 13 for 23 today, 153 yards through the air, no touchdowns, but no picks, no turnovers for the Ravens. He was sacked once, and he finished with a quarterback rating of 76.9. Lamar had 7 carries, at least in the score sheet. They're calling these formal carries for just 11 yards. That's 1.6 per tote. But again, they're leaning away from designed runs. They're leaning away from zone reads. And that's obviously having an impact for sure in terms of their red zone efficiencies or lack thereof. Want to get your thoughts on where things are at right now post-game. Appreciate you guys for being with me tonight. If you could like the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell, consider becoming a channel member. Would love for you to join the Discord server. It's a 24/7 hub for conversations surrounding Baltimore sports. And it's free to join. That access link, along with the guest line access link, is pinned in my live chat right now. Myles Garrett has 18 sacks through 12 weeks of football. Guys, the single season record is 22.5. That is so in trouble. he is breathing down the neck of the all-time single season record at 22.5. Myles Garrett is a man-child and having an all-time, all-world season, much like he did a week ago in Cleveland. You already know I'm bringing up the 60-second limitation today, or else we're going to be here till the cows come home. T.S. Smooth says, or T. Smooth says, are the Chiefs a good team, Bobby? Can't wait for Femi to cook you in your bad take again. The offensive line is trash, period. Anytime 8 has time, he's money. Tell me why. You're not telling me why they're a good team. You're calling me trash or my take trash. I guess there's a difference. Maybe you're calling both trash. But tell me why. Call in and tell me why you think this is a good team. I don't think they're a good team. I think they're an average team that find themselves in the mix in a jam-packed AFC. Why are they a good team? Matter of fact, that's what we're asking the live chat for, or excuse me, the guest lines. We're talking about nothing else the rest of the way other than, are the Ravens a good team, and how do you define good team? Let's open them up. 60-second clock, so make it worth it. Make it count. Oscar, you ready to roll, brother? Let's run it up. Welcome to the program, brother. Are the Ravens at 6-5? Would you categorize them as a quote-unquote good team, as Luke told me?
Define good. Define good. Before the timer starts, define good.
That's up to Luke, so I'll let you do it. What's your definition? What's your personal definition of good? And you can answer your own.
A good team for me
starts now, my man.
A good team for me is a Super Bowl contender, and they're not. A 1-5 team is in my hands is not. Yeah, I was smirking a little bit earlier when Sarah said a Lamar at 70% is better than Snoop at 100. Lamar was not at 70% today. He made me eat my words during half when I said maybe Snoop should be playing because Lamar is not healthy. We're about to play I'm not super confident. I know that Burrow's coming back. The league loves it. I know that that's going to happen. I'm not looking forward to Thursday. I don't have a good feeling about it. I think they'll make the playoffs. I think the division is theirs, but I don't think they'll go to the AFC championship or even the Super Bowl like that.
All right, brother. Appreciate the call tonight, man. And love the lighting in the background. Looking slick there. Later, Oscar. Guest lines are open. Are the Ravens a good team? How do you define good? Oscar thinks it comes down to Super Bowl contending. Okay, that's cool. How do you define it? Whether you're in the live chat or you're in the waiting room tonight. Are the Ravens a good team? Luke says that they are. It inspired a topic. I know that they've been good enough to dig themselves out of the hole that they built through the first 5 weeks. Their defense has come around. Their defense is successfully creating turnovers, momentum-shifting turnovers, as they did today. Marlon Humphrey playing with a finger that had recently been pinned finds a way to strip Breece Hall after a 40-yard chunk gain and a check down from Tyrod Taylor. Ocean 08 has not forgotten something I said earlier this season, that the Ravens are cooked, and says that aged well. Crazy enough, it's actually, there's still a scenario, while the numbers, the analytics would tell you otherwise, there is still a scenario that the Ravens could be cooked. Do I feel good about my prediction from a month ago? No, I do not. But all along, as Sarah and I discussed in the closing moments of the vault earlier this evening, it's been all about the stretch that begins now that led me to making what could end up becoming a premature comment over a month ago, but it remains to be seen. This is the stretch upcoming that inspired me to say what I said over a month ago. 4 divisional opponents and 2 in the New England Patriots and the Green Bay Packers that are outside the division. 2 of the best in their respective conferences. Captain Wright wrote, Shador played good today. They got QB controversy like always. Yeah, Kevin Stefanski was non-committal in terms of who he's going with moving forward. But Shador played well enough to win for him. He managed the game. I think just only 1 turnover if I saw his statistics. 11 for 20, 209 yards, a touchdown, a pick, a passer rating of 87.3. And they beat Vegas on the road at Allegiant 24-10. Myles Garrett went off. He's closing in on that single season record. Good for Shador. And Cleveland media has got to be foaming at the mouth knowing that yet again, to your point, more quarterback controversy in Browns land. Why not? Let me ask you as we continue to cycle through the guest lines tonight. Are the Ravens a good team? Didn't expect to be having this conversation tonight, but feel like it's good debate, good open dialogue. Richard, you with me? Are the Ravens a good team? Welcome back to the program.
What's up, Bobby? I'm gonna rehash a lot of the things I said on the Ravens live stream. Yeah, this team is in trouble. This O-line. There are times in the opening half of this game that where the O-line actually gave Lamar decent protection, but Lamar's internal clock got sped up so much that he was making off schedule throws that were not good. They were not accurate, and then they missed the wide receivers. I mean, I'm not saying that Lamar is bad, but he's not 100%. He gave me 8 fantasy points. So the person who made that comment, yeah, I feel your pain. I mean, this team is in trouble. The minute that they play another good defense, if they end up playing Denver in the playoffs, we are so cooked. Denver has at least, I think they have 3 people in not the top 20 pass rushers, top 10 pass rushers. We are so fucking cooked.
Thanks, Richard. Appreciate you, brother. And thank you guys for being with me tonight. Ravens closing stretch, as we all know, begins in 5 days on Thanksgiving night. Quick turnaround against the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow will likely play, I would think. They did not activate him over the weekend for today's game, and as a result, Bengals lose to New England. Steelers lose to Chicago with no Aaron Rodgers. So Burrow didn't play for Cincy. Rodgers didn't play for Pittsburgh. And Shador ended up starting for Cleveland and winning, as you would expect they would with that defense, on the road in Vegas. And we know the Ravens took care of business, as you see on the screen, to the tune of a 23-10 decision over the Jets, doing what you're supposed to do. Beat up on this favorable stretch, which ends today. Dreams writes, this offensive line is not helping this team get off to a faster start. There should have been a Huntley sighting, but nonetheless, I'll take the win. So are you suggesting that based on what you saw today, you would have felt more comfortable with Snoop out there, Quion? I had those thoughts at times in the first half. I held off from tweeting it. But I will say, that is a legitimate thought in my mind. Just how much of a percentage or below a 100% health right now is Lamar. We won't know that percentage. They're not going to share that. And he said and did all the right things. And just in case you missed it earlier, this is what he had to say when peppered about his overall health at the moment.
Has there been a game yet since you've come back from injury where you kind of feel like, okay, I'm fully myself, I'm fully healthy, I'm fully ready to compete the way, we've seen you compete over the last few years?
I can't call it, but I'm out there, so I feel like I should still be able to do what I do.
How much did the ankle bother you at all today? I mean, I know it was obviously taped up a good bit, but did it hinder you at all?
No, it was pretty solid, for the most part. It was pretty solid.
So, Lamar, do you feel injuries are holding you back or holding this offense back in a way because you're not able to?
No, I don't think that at all. I feel like we just need to execute, a lot better. We get in great field position, but we're not putting points on the board, that have nothing to do with no injury. You just need to put points on the board right there.
Okay, so Quion just went and clarified what he meant by his super chat. So he wanted to see Snoop at the end, meaning it should have been a blowout over the Jets, much like Vegas predicted, and a lot of us thought that might be the case, maybe even to the tune of an Emory Jones sighting in the second half. But the game was never really out of reach. Now, what was it, 13.5 going in? Ends up being a 13-point difference in the end, 23-10, which Vegas always knows. I think it was 13.5 or so. But yeah, I hear you on that. Everybody would have wanted to seen Snoop, because not only does Lamar get out of the game, but that would have meant that the deficit the Jets were facing was comfortable enough from a Ravens perspective that they could have gotten Lamar out of that game. Laverto Jean Charles. Is it John Charles? I'm sorry, all the handles are off right now. I don't know what the hell happened on the back end of YouTube, but for whatever reason, all of your handles are being displayed instead of your usernames, and it's very strange. But Laverto writes, Ravens are beyond cooked. See y'all at Lambeau soon. Oh, you going to Lambeau? That's going to be a spectacle, man. A couple days after Christmas, the frozen tundra, the most storied, historic freaking stadium in all the land. What else is there to do in December in Green Bay? Enjoy that. That'll be a blast. Appreciate you guys for being here tonight. The question has become, are the Ravens a good team? 6-5, winners of 5 straight games, pretenders or contenders off of what's been a month plus of beating up on lesser competition. That's not to discount the parity this year. That's not to discount some of the teams that they have beaten, that have beaten other good teams. Cleveland's beaten Green Bay. Miami's beaten Buffalo. So on and so forth. Vinny, you can call in by clicking on the link that I have as my pinned comment in the YouTube chat. Clinton says, if we go into the playoffs as an underdog, we will win games. We only got to worry week to week. Appreciate you, Clinton. In the past, obviously, as an underdog, Ravens have been a pretty darn good presence, haven't they? That's when they're at their best. John Harbaugh spoke postgame regarding the state of the AFC North.
It was great, but it's just it's halfway done. It's not over. Season's not over. Game wasn't over. Season's not over. And we play 4. We play the Steelers twice, and we play the Bengals twice in the next few weeks. So that's going to be it right there. And starting Thursday night, we've got no time really to rest. We've got to go to work on the Bengals, and we know what that's like. So how challenging that is. So we're ready. We'll be ready to go.
Hey, John, speaking.
You guys know the drill. Are the Ravens a good team right now through an 11-game sample size, 12 weeks, leading into a short one against Cincinnati? Julian, your 60 seconds, brother. Oh, wait a second. Hold on a second. D Blacks. Hold on a second. D Blacks, you have my attention. You have my attention. Okay. D Black says this guy is always negative. He also writes, really? Come on, Bobby. We just won 5 straight. Yes, we are a good team. Get your ass in the waiting room and tell me why. Let's go. In the spirit of debate, this is your invitation to come on right now and tell me why you think you can stand on a table tonight and tell me that the Ravens are a good team. Let's go. Who was I going to? Jewel, are the Ravens a good team?
We are a okay team. Yeah, we won 5 straight. I agree, but the flaws are still there. The offensive line issues are still there. This team's inability to score points when needed. The red zone issues, they're still there. Granted, they got 2 rushing touchdowns today by Derrick Henry, but you're still having issues in that department. So, and then Lamar's still less than 100%. Saw his missed throws today. Was a lot of them. The throw to DeAndre Hopkins on the left corner when he beat that cornerback with a double move. Could have had a touchdown right there, but it was an overthrow. There's a lot of overthrows he had today. So they're an okay team. Not a good team. Okay team.
Okay.
They still got a lot of work to do. A lot of games left. You got Cincinnati, then Pittsburgh, and then New England. That's when the challenge is going to be getting real for this team. Whether
Love
they
it,
fix
brother.
these issues or not, it's up to them.
Appreciate you. And D Blacks, I see that you're putting your son to sleep tonight. So obviously that's the first and foremost priority. And again, it's in the spirit of debate. Want to have a little chatter about, hey, if you think the Ravens are a good team, then call in and tell me why. That's all it is. It's the spirit of debate. Julian mentioned the double move put on that Jets DB by 33-year-old DeAndre Hopkins, who continues to play in a role. He's really a role player for this team. Let's be clear. I think all of us are left wanting more from the sample size that he's given and proven that he can still play at a high level. He's a chain mover on third down. He can still get that contested catch ability on display. And obviously when DeAndre is at his best is creating separation, as he did on that beautiful, beautiful double move that Lamar just straight up, let's call it as it is. That's on Lamar. Lamar was off today. Threw behind Mark Andrews one time across the middle. Completely missed and whiffed with Isaiah Likely on the right-hand side at one point. Should have had one passing touchdown if Mark Andrews hadn't dropped that in the end zone. That's got to be caught by 89 for sure. It's a clean game from Lamar in terms of taking care of the football, but it was a risk-adverse, not polished, underwhelming game. And I'm okay and willing to sit here and say that the overwhelming majority of why that's the case is due to his health. I'm okay with that. Will, are the Ravens a good team? What say you, brother? Welcome back to the program.
Thanks for having me once again. I do not understand how people look at the screen or look at people and say the Ravens are a good team. Be realistic for me for a second. We are not offensively great in the red zone, 28th in the league, and we're like, yeah, we're a great team, guys. Yeah. And then we're giving up 40-yard checkdowns to Breece Hall. Yes, bend, don't break, but don't break, right? But when it comes to facing teams like, I don't know, New England Patriots, who's supposed to be really bad to y'all, right? The Packers, yes, they lost to the Browns. We almost lost to the Browns too when Lamar threw 2 picks. Remember that? The Lamar who's playing really great right now. Lamar is not 100%, and some of y'all are just taking a blind eye to that. And I mean, I'm getting rage baited by that. I don't care. I'm just yapping on here. But the Ravens are an okay team. I think we can be better as the stretch goes on, but I'm just saying right now, we're not a great team. We're okay.
Appreciate you, Will. Thanks for the call, brother. And, let's be clear, too. We're talking about in the here and now. It's 8:31 Sunday night, November 23rd. I'm talking about in the here and now. When Luke said they're a good team, I'm pushing back on that. That doesn't mean that a month from right now, I won't potentially feel inclined to get on here and say that they're a good team. I really, really want to see how they handle this closing stretch. And I feel like that's fair. I'm willing to acknowledge that they've morphed and evolved as potentially good teams do in a season since the way they scuffled out of the gate the first 6 weeks. And I'm also willing to acknowledge that I think we need to take a grain of salt the last month plus. They've done what they're supposed to do. Find ways to win against lesser competition, albeit a very, very strongly balanced and parity-driven league in 2025, more so than it has been in recent years. And now we begin a very difficult closing stretch, beginning with a short week, 4 divisional games, some of which I think can be coin flips, and 2 outside of the division games that certainly are no slouches in the New England Patriots 9-2 and Green Bay in a hostile environment in the frozen tundra. I'm really genuinely curious what will become of them over the next month. Dreams writes, Derrick Henry still doesn't have 1,000 yards on the season, and we're 12 weeks in. The run game should be clicking, but it's not. Maybe Thanksgiving, we get it going. Cincinnati's defense could very well provide that opportunity. I just realized that red zone in the distance turned off, as it does when Scott Hanson's is done. So now I got to flip that to Sunday night just so I can multitask here. Should be a hell of a game, by the way. Bucks Rams. Remember when Baker Mayfield came in a pinch for the Rams years ago? Wasn't it like a Thursday night or something, and he like joined the team on Tuesday or Wednesday, something insane like that, and then led him to a W? That doesn't speak to the makeup and DNA of Baker frickin' Mayfield. I don't know what does. This defense, to throw in a little bit of positivity, has allowed less than 20 points in 6 straight games. That's the longest streak in the NFL this season. They're creating takeaways. They're bending but not breaking. And ultimately, aside from some big chunk plays allowed for A.D. Mitchell and Breece Hall tonight, got some timely pass rush from Draymond Jones. Draymond continues to ball out since he was acquired at the deadline by Tennessee. Had 1.5 sacks today. 4 tackles, 2 of which were solo, a TFL, a pass deflection, and 2 quarterback hits. And it's all, most of which being done organically. You got to love that shit, because that was not being done anywhere near consistent enough. Are the Ravens a good team, Vinny? Welcome back to the program, brother.
What's going on? So I say the record is what they are, 6-5. So a little bit, above mediocre. I will say though, I think what Nate Burleson said, they're not a good team yet, but they're a feared team. And I think that nuance there is important because of the legacy, because of the franchise, the success, the fact that the defense is improving like it did last year, the fact that in spite of Lamar's, it saddens me when people like are so quick to critique him because he's not playing to his level of standard. Well, because his standard is the stratosphere, and it's like I said in the chat, if he wins 1 ring, he's top 10 all time. If he wins multiple rings, he's top 5 all time, just from the amount of accolades and things that he's put up. So his presence out there, even though he's not 100%, I still say we're a rising team. But think about it, he plays better when no one's talking about him, right? Like the team as a whole plays better when they have the underdog mentality, and like they played a bunch of soft teams, mediocre teams, and so there's not as much spotlight on them. To me, the season was starting Thursday night with the division, because I knew we were going to find a good ways to win these games. And yeah, we're feared because our defense is playing well in spite of our offense struggling. It's a weird flip. I wish that both sides of the ball could just mirror each other in terms of the offense was playing well and the defense was not. Now it's reverse. So we have the special teams and the defense playing well. So the offense, who I'm least concerned about, even with the offensive line, just because we have the playmakers to be able to rise to the occasion. I think Lamar's mentality is he's a killer. He told Ray Lewis that. He's like, I'm a killer just on offense. I think he's going to mentally, bring the team and will to victory. We've seen it so many times. So I'm not concerned about the offense, but I don't think anybody with eyes who's not trolling can't say that this team is good. They are what their record says they
All
are.
right, brother.
They're 6-5.
Appreciate you, Vinny. Thanks for the call, man. Waiting room's cooking tonight, so I got to keep it time on task. Not sure if I can go as far as to say that they're feared. When you look at this overall AFC playoff picture, what's fearful, I think, about it is that they've dug themselves out of the ashes, and they can absolutely get to a point where they are once again feared. As long as you have Lamar available, I think that comes with a level of fear. But Lamar at this current phase, this current state physically, is far from fearful, and the numbers reflect that. Unfortunately, they were 2 for 11 on 3rd down tonight. They don't convert on 4th down where they were 2 for 2. This game looks a lot different. One of which was a Derrick Henry touchdown that I've already broken down. I mean, this is a team that was it 72 yards of total offense in the first half. They were 0 for 5 on 3rd down. They had drops. They had operational issues. Linderbaum and Lamar, some of the ball handling there was off. The cadence, maybe timing was a bit off rhythm there. I mean, it was struggle city. That was one of the worst halves of football throughout the Lamar era, which dates back, what, eight years now. So I do think that they could potentially rediscover what's become of them in recent years, and the stature that comes with being feared. They're just so far from there right now. DeBruz, I got to give you your due, man. Mr. Generosity. 60-second clock on display in a second here, but DeBruz dropped a $500 donation as he said he would last week. Very appreciated, very, very beyond generous. Never expected, always appreciated. Welcome back to the program, brother. Are the Ravens a good team?
Nah, we decent. That's a good word to use. We a decent team, but we don't have too many good teams in the league. We thought Seattle was a good team till they got destroyed by the Rams. Couple of weeks ago, we was talking about Detroit, a good team. They almost lost to the Giants today, man. If Jahmyr Gibbs ain't had the day that he had, they would have lost to the Giants. We talking about the Packers. They lost to Carolina, right? Like, so there is, I think personally it's about maybe 4 good teams in the league. If we saying good teams, everybody else is peaks and valleys, man. Everybody else. 4 weeks ago, we were talking about Buffalo being a good team until they lost at home against the Patriots. I think Denver, New England, the Rams, and the Eagles, and the Eagles lost today, would be the 4 good teams in the league. The Ravens we're a decent team, man. Not good, not great, but decent.
Appreciate you, brother. Thanks again for last week, man. And maybe he just hit the nail on the head in terms of the positive spin when it comes to this whole debate that we're having tonight. How many good teams are there in this league right now? Right? Like, maybe that's where we can find our happy medium ground right now of how to put a positive spin, a Raven-centric spin on this debate. How many good teams are we looking at on the screen right now in the AFC playoff picture? And is it as wide open as it appears to be right now in the AFC? Maybe that's the beauty and the hidden blessing in this overall conversation. Maurice, you know the question of the night? Are the current state of the 6-5 Ravens, is this current state defined as a good team? Welcome back to the program.
And this is a very obvious answer to me. Hell no, the Ravens are not a good team. It's like they're not a bad team by any means, but they are sitting in the middle of the pack. Like, if you look at the AFC standings, there are at least 2 good teams in each division that are playing good football so far. By the way, the Patriots becoming the first team so far this season, if I'm not mistaken, if not the first team in the conference to reach 10 wins. So what defines a good team in my book is good team building and, of course, scouting, although that's a topic for another day, depending on how you look at it. And, of course, being fundamentally sound on the offensive side of the ball. Now, although penalties haven't really been an issue with this offensive line, but me personally, I still do not have all of my trust with this offensive line. We still got a lot of work to do before January.
Thanks, brother. Perfectly timed, Maurice. Don't listen to David, too, by the way, who's telling you to sit the fuck down. I'll tell you, David, if you're standing up right now, sit the... Appreciate you guys for being with me tonight. Good conversation that was inspired by Luke in terms of, and a lot of this has to do with how you define good. But as you do look at the AFC playoff picture, I'm starting to think more and more as I process this on the fly that maybe, just maybe, there is only 1 or 2 good teams in the AFC, which opens the floodgates for anything to happen in these closing 6 weeks that for the Ravens begins on Thursday night on what will be a very quick turnaround at home against the Cincinnati Bengals, who will likely be with Joe Burrow, I would think. It's not confirmed yet. Be hard to see a scenario without Joe Burrow playing. Clinton writes, we're so used to fighting for the number 1 seed That us fighting week to week makes us feel like the season is worse than it is. The league wide is crazy right now. It's wide open. Yeah, it is crazy to think that the Ravens have been in playoff mode for a month, over a month. That's insane. Think about that. Typically, in past years, this is when they're, aside from 21 and 22, this is when they're boat racing teams. And we're having MVP debate conversation and dialogues. That's not the case, obviously. Shimmy Boy says we need some more sneaky holding from the offensive line. Linderbaum wasn't able to sneak away with one that wiped a 35-yarder from Keaton Mitchell. Boy, he showed some burst there as he bounced to the outside on the right-hand side. 34, boy, he looks like as good as ever, does he not? Continue to make him active over Rasheen Ali. That should have been the case all year long. Come on now. Bubs8294 says, get a life, dude. This is some clickbaiting as shit. Bubs, call in. Bet you won't say that once the lights get bright. Little boy. Rave, are the Ravens a good team? And how do you define it? Welcome back to the program. That's 10 seconds down.
I told you so. I told you so. I told you so. All y'all told me. Oh, look how stern John Harbaugh is about Ben Cleveland. Look how strong he is. He must be worse. He deactivated Ben Cleveland today, and guess who was active? Ravens fans. Emory Jones was active. He was active, ready to go with pads. He didn't play not one single snap. No, I don't want to hear it. Because the optimism today was he might play a little something. A change over the horizon could happen. That's what you said. That's what Jeff Brewick and all y'all said. Y'all lied to me. John Harbaugh lied to me. John is a lie.
Get your ass out of here. Rave, I love you. That's a tired bit, bro. It's tired. That shit's tired. This was not the offensive. This is not a game where we sit here and pound the table about the lack of pass protection. Lamar only dropped back, 23 times. He was sacked once. They couldn't move the football and convert on third down. They were 0 for 5. They couldn't get the run game going. Some of that has to do with the lack of push and lack of continuity offensively up front. But a lot of tonight and today had to do with Lamar and his limitations right now. My man will die on a hill and is willing to die that slow death when it comes to fighting for his right to protect Ben Cleveland. I don't understand where Ben Cleveland, maybe it's this fascination for what he could have been. The squirrel hunter, big country, the Georgia fun-loving big dude, big grizzly beard. I don't know where this obsession started, but it has ballooned into something that I never, ever could have imagined. You got Rave Kingdom crashing out about that today? Bro, there's a lot more that should be at the epicenter of our priority list when it comes to evaluating the current state of this team. Special teams continues to pass the test. And John Harbaugh was speaking about it postgame.
Right away is the punt team, all right? Start with Jordan Stout and the punt coverage guys. That kept us in the game probably because we were backed up field position-wise. We averaged a 20. We were backed up inside the 10 once or twice too. They had done a good job with their punt team, the kickoffs and all the different things. They moved the ball a couple times. And we were backed up offensively, and that made it tough against that defense. And then our punt team would bail us out and push them all the way back inside the 20, couple times inside the 10 and even at the 5 late. I mean, that punt at the end of the game was unbelievable. So I think our punt team in a lot of ways kept us in and was the difference maker in the game. And Chris Horton deserves so much credit for that. Chris Horton has done a great job. This is a young group. That was the #1 ranked special teams in the league coming in here. And Chris Horton had those guys ready, man. He had those guys ready in every phase. And you can see how good they were, how dangerous they were on kickoff return and everything else. Got the big kickoff return to Keaton that got that scoring drive started in the second quarter. So really proud of that. Like Chris, I just want to make sure we mentioned what a great job Chris has done with those guys. And then there's young guys, man. It's a bunch of young guys, a bunch of guys that compete and get after it and fight and practice hard every day. So proud of those guys. All right, what questions you have?
And on to Jordan himself. Jordan caught up with reporters in a media scrum who now, with Sam Cook, owns a franchise record, a 74-yard punt.
Today, what was the plan for punts? What were you seeing out there?
Oh, man. So first punt, we go out there. There's a little wind at our back. I hit a boomerang. It goes really well. I mean, he gets a few yards on the return. After that, like Randy had said pregame that the wind's going to be doing a lot of stuff today, a lot of different things. And that's not really normal. Usually it's like pretty consistent. And, you know, that second punt, the 74-yarder, wind was in my face, like heavy. And I mean, it's just human nature. Like I was nervous. Like I really didn't want to be hitting that punt, but I don't know. It got up in the air and then like it caught like a little air pocket and it just flew. So our stadium's really funky, but I'm glad it was today.
What does it mean knowing you're consistently flipping field position for this team?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just happy that I'm helping. You know, I feel like a lot of time as a punter, it's easy to feel like you're not like making a huge contribution to the team. Because, I mean, I could hit a 95-yard punt down to the 1 and then they score a touchdown. But, like, when the defense stops them and I feel like it's because of me and guys are coming up to me like, hey, that was you, like, it means so much. Like, that's, like, what makes you love the game. It's what makes me love punting. So, yeah.
Hard not to be happy for that guy, man. It's a contract year. He was a 4th-round pick back in 2022. And take a look. Not only did he meet and match that franchise record previously achieved by Sam Cook years ago, a 74-yard punt, he also, for good measure, threw a 67-yarder in there and earned himself a Ravens graphic post-game. 61.5 average punt yards is the 6th best in NFL history in a single game since 1960. He had one that pinned the Jets inside the 5, and again, a 74-yard punt. Good for him. He is on his way to a Pro Bowl caliber season, an all-pro caliber season for the guy that's going to get paid this offseason. Richard wanted one more 60-second chance. I'm willing to give it to you. Waiting room is now empty. Bring us to the finish line, my friend. Welcome back.
Thank you, Bobby. I'm gonna try to be very, very quick. I just want to go ahead and explain myself because I was called negative. I am a realistic pragmatist. So one thing that I'm saying is that this game, the Ravens were playing a defense that did not have Quentin Williams, that did not have Sauce Gardner. This was not a top-tier defense, and they were still getting pressure on Lamar. At the end of the fourth quarter, for me to say that this was going to be a good game, okay, I'm fuck fantasy. I don't give a shit about fantasy. If this would be a good game, in the final fourth quarter, Emery should have been able to be on a rotation because we were so far ahead. We were not. And as a matter of fact, the Jets had the first touchdown because we only had one single first down the entire time, so the defense was gassed, and so the defense let out a touchdown. Give me a better team, and that's going to be a blowout. Now, let me go and also show you one other thing. Lamar really needs he needs another bye week, to be dead honest with you. I'm going to go ahead and show this stat real quick. Lamar has been sacked every single game this season. He was sacked 2 times against the Buffalo Bills, 3 times against Cleveland the first time, 7 times against the Lions, 3 times against KC, 2 times against Miami. He was sacked 1 time against Minneapolis, 5 times again against Cleveland, and then 1 time against the Jets. This is not a good offensive line.
24 over 7.5 games.
Everyone's saying that we have issues. We have issues. We're not being negative. I'm not trying to be negative. I don't want to be negative. If we somehow win the Super Bowl, which is still my litmus test for a successful season, I will take that lick and I will be the happiest man alive. Okay. But I need to see dramatic improvement. Thank you.
All right, brother. Appreciate you. And having met Richard several times on occasion over the years at BMore Around Town tailgates, he is very far from negative. I think the majority of all of us, I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm not as positive or optimistic or I don't know, as maybe some fans would like. I just think we all do our best to try and look at things objectively, at least from my standpoint as a coverage creator. And at the same time, celebrate areas that are worth celebrating. And I think from a defensive perspective, that is an area that's worth celebrating that spans 5 or 6 weeks now, dating back to the Rams game pre-bye week. John Harbaugh called it out specifically today as it relates to Marlon Humphrey, who was returning from the finger procedure that he had that now has metal in his finger, which I'm sure is a temporary fix for him. I would be shocked if he doesn't have to pursue a legitimate, more permanent procedure in the offseason. But John absolutely talked about something that this defense continues to do, led by Marlon tonight, and that is create takeaways.
And then, of course, Lowe coming up with the ball. But Marlon, to get that ball out, I don't know how he did it because we were reeling a little bit. They had us on our heels, you know. They were running the ball. They had made some plays. We missed some tackles. And then he comes up just huge. I mean, that to me is like that's the lion spike right there. That's the lion spike of the game right there. And then
got to give Marlon a ton of credit, man. Look, there's been times this season where obviously he's had his fair share of issues in coverage, but one thing you're always going to get from him is an unrelenting source of energy. And more often than not, he creates game-changing plays with his physicality, with his technique, with some of the excellence, the peanut punch that he has. God, it wasn't all that long ago where the Marlon punch was something that you would just expect semi-regularly throughout a season. And the technique that it takes to masterfully punch the football out of a guy like Breece Hall's strength and his command is really, it was an exceptional play. And credit Alohi Gilman after missing Breece Hall in space there. Credit him for getting in there and having the instincts and the strength and the power and the concentration to come up with that football and recover it inside the Jets, or where was it? They were inside the Ravens, 5-yard line? They were driving. Breece Hall was en route to the end zone. And that game would have looked a lot different had they punched that in. Clinton says, real talk, when it comes to single elimination playoffs, what teams should the Ravens be worried about, especially of the teams in the playoffs right now? I'll pull up the AFC playoff picture right now, just as we look at the American Conference. The city, but they got to make it in first. They beat the Colts today. They had to have it. They've been playing postseason football for weeks now. The Ravens have been playing postseason football for weeks. I'm air quoting that. So Kansas City's first and foremost if they make it. You know what's hard about this conversation is that if you get a formidable opponent and the Ravens, the version of the Ravens that showed up in Buffalo show up again, then I have a hard time saying that there aren't multiple teams that you should be worried about on this graphic. The easy answer is that outside of Kansas City, if the Ravens play their own game and they're fully healthy, led by Lamar, then this entire graphic shouldn't be a problem. But this year has proven otherwise. But it starts and ends with Kansas City. Captain writes, it's no way you can watch this team and feel confident. Yes, the defense looks better, but it takes a team and the offense looks bad. Yeah. You guys concerned about Denver? Just catching up on some of the live chats since that Clinton debate came up. Steve says, Steve Loop, teams also have a tendency to play up and down to opponents. Today wasn't a big surprise. Yeah, I had 26-14, so I'm with you, Steve. I wasn't surprised at all, to be honest with you. It's unfortunate that there was that much drag in the first half by a Ravens offense that looked, wow, unrecognizable, unless, of course, you've been watching Ravens football over the last few weeks, as the defense and special teams has really kept this team afloat, led by your son's special teams unit. Tyler was 3 for 3 today. Did have the landing zone penalty, his 4th on the year. He and Randy Brown obviously got to clean that up, but Tyler continues to pass the test. He's now 22 of 24, I think, on the year from a field goal make standpoint. So good for him, and obviously good for one of his running mates out there in Jordan Stout, who's putting together an exceptional year. But yeah, that first half was an absolute snooze fest, was it not? That was a brutal watch. Hopefully you guys enjoyed tonight's watch. If you haven't already done so, would love for you to join the Discord group. I know Steve and many others are in there. When you do join, you get a shout out in the welcome section. We're now up to 1,055 members. So welcome to Day Walker and Raven 77, Senior James, so on and so forth. We talk sports across the board 24/7. Basketball, baseball, hockey, football, of course. Bobby After Dark, I got some messages to answer there. So would love for you guys to pop in there, join the group. It's a great community. Let's get that number to 1,500 at some point in the near future. Like the video on your way out. Subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership. Thanks to all of you who weighed in with super chats. Thanks to all of you who called in. David Cures testing my patience tonight. I'll deal with your ass later. Appreciate you guys. David Petrosky says, Bobby's bitter because Buffalo and Pittsburgh lost this week, so he wants to dampen down on Ravens positivity. I swear, some of you guys just like literally cannot even see through your purple goggles. David, take off your goddamn goggles and call in next time. You get me fired up on the way out here. I'm going to watch Sunday Night Football, as you guys should as well. Have an awesome rest of your evenings, and thanks for supporting this program. Appreciate it.